When this motorcycle was first revealed a decade ago, it was a revelation for enthusiasts across the country. The power to weight, the weight handled was just phenomenal. Over the past decade, it has gone through multiple iterations, multiple generations, minor tweaks, evolving as it went by. Now, the manufacturer has decided enough with the evolution, we have to have a revolution in this segment. I'm Zain Syed from the Zengine. You're watching Motor World India, and today we are talking about the 2024 Gen 3 Duke 390. Now there's a horde of changes on this motorcycle to talk about. It's basically a brand new motorcycle. But let's start from the front and work our way back. The rims that we saw on the new RC390 have made their way on the Duke 390. They are 1.7 kilos lighter than the previous generation, and that is rotating mass as well as unsprung mass, so it makes a huge difference. The front suspension now gets adjustment. KTM has finally stood up to what it should have done a long time ago. We now get compression and rebound adjustment on the front forks, no preload there, but you've got an adjustable suspension on the front end. The chassis is brand new, so steel tubular chassis. We now have a pressure die-cast aluminum rear subframe. KTM says it's not lost much weight because of that, but it's done more to get the bike in terms of aesthetic lineup of their global models. There are massive changes on the rear, as you can already see. The swing arm is brand new. They're calling it the banana-shaped swing arm because of how it looks. Now we have an offset rear shock that has been moved to the side, that has been purely done for packaging purposes. So that has allowed them to increase the ground clearance while reducing the seat height. That is phenomenal. This now has an 800 mm seat height, which is about 20 mm lower than the previous gen, and that should be beneficial to a lot of riders out there. We also get adjustable suspension on the back. So this is a 10-step preload adjuster and a 5-step rebound adjuster on the back. I am very glad to see that. When you talk about the looks of the motorcycle, this is a completely new design that is never before seen on any bigger models also of the KTM. It's a new design language that KTM has started. When you talk about the headlight itself is less aggressive, but it is flanked by these DRL structures which sort of stand out from the motorcycle and give it an aggressive look. When the spy shots came out of the motorcycle, people were very keen to notice these extra big overhangs that come from the side of the tank. But to be honest, the more I look at it, it is growing on me. The rest of the motorcycle is pretty subtle, so this sort of gives it the aggressive nature that a KTM should have. The rear end of the motorcycle in terms of looks is very refreshing, mainly due to the die-cast subframe. These slots here give it sort of an aggressive look. It's also there to save weight. The design of the tail light is brand new, and if you notice, we've completely gone away with the hugger. We don't have a hugger, tire hugger here. KTM has managed to include the mud splash guard in the number plate mount of the motorcycle. This has purely been done to save weight. I think it just looks fantastic. The hand controls, the display, everything is brand new on the motorcycle. The switchgear looks much more premium than before. The display is brand new. It gets a completely different look altogether. You've got a lot more information than you have seen previously because there are a lot more electronic aids to talk about, which we will get to in a minute. Yeah, so we'll be riding the bike around Pune for the past couple of hours, and I have a lot to say about the motorcycle. The engine feels very different from the previous generation motorcycles. The second part that complements the engine character very well is the ride and handling of the motorcycle. We've only been riding it on the road, we'll be riding it on the track later, and I have left the settings to stock as what KTM had set them. The brakes and the suspension feel very good, matured in a way, because the motorcycle is still agile as the 390 has always been. It is very agile, it's very nimble, very easy to tip into corners, but it has gained stability. So at higher speeds, the bike feels more planted now because of better suspension. I think the big credit goes to the lighter wheels. It stops better, it's more nimble while the suspension is more stable, but the nimbleness comes mainly, I think, from the wheels. That's where the big plus point is. Even at higher lean angles, the bike feels a lot more stable now. The previous generation Dukes and the older RCs used to feel very skittish at high lean angles. So once you were at extreme lean angles, the bike would want to scare you a little bit. This feels much more planted than those motorcycles. So when we talk about ergos of the motorcycle, the bike, obviously we know that the seat height has been reduced. However, the foot peg position has been kept up so that you don't have clearance issues when at extreme lean angles. So for taller riders, this angle might be an issue. You might need to check that. The lower seat angle puts you a little bit in a more of a relaxed position, so you are not as aggressive on the handlebar as in the previous gen Dukes, which makes the motorcycle a bit more comfier than the previous gen motorcycles were. The display is completely changed, so you have a lot more information as you can see. So you have your ABS mode here, you've got your traction control which are directly visible here. You've got a very nice tachometer digital that comes up and which is very visible even in broad daylight. You've got your check engine light. If you turn off your traction control and your ABS, these sort of indicators come up. Gear indicator is pretty good, speed is pretty good. They moved away from a gauge of the temperature to now having just a readout that says cold, okay or hot. I've never seen hot throughout my ride. Both the fans did kick on regularly, so temperature maintenance has gone well. I'll just quickly show you what happens once we put it into track mode. So once we put it into track mode, the display changes, the tachometer changes to a different layout. Your odometer and trip meter goes away and a lap timer comes. You now have a lap timer on the Duke 390, which is fantastic to see. You have all new switchgear which feel very tactile. You've got a different styled cluster here to control the whole display. The clusters are very tactile, the buttons are nice, they seem to have a very good feedback to them. You can use them very well, that's no issue there. You now have a parking light, hazard light switch directly up there that you can really use in an emergency if need be. So over bad roads, I rode them a lot over bad roads and I did not find the motorcycle bottoming out or being too harsh on me over bad surfaces. I think it's quite comfortable as a Sport Naked can get. The big thing is you have a lot of adjustability in the rear shock and the front compression, so even if you find it a bit stiff, you can adjust it, and once you reach to a good place where you want to do some canyon carving, you can adjust it. It's a thumb adjuster, you don't need to carry any tools, so that is great. So that's what it's been like riding it on the road. We now have to head back to the plant to ride it on the racetrack and see what happens once you let it all loose. See you there. So we've just had our track riding session done. I've just come in from that. Whatever I felt on the road was just amplified on the racetrack. The bike is so stable with the new chassis and the new suspension. The Bajaj Test Track is a bit bumpy, but even over those bumps, the bike goes and just settles and does not do any drama or does not scare you or anything like that. At extreme lean angles, the stability is far better than the previous Dukes, and it's one of the top handling motorcycles in this segment right now in my experience. So with all of that information, who is this motorcycle for? Anyone who's looking to have a thrilling experience on the bike. Now with the new changes, you can also say that this is a good long run machine. It's comfortable to ride, it's manageable at lower RPM, so you can tour on it. It's getting more and more in the realm of a do everything motorcycle. You take this bike and you make it into whatever you want to do. You want to commute on it, you can commute on it. You want to take it to the occasional track day, you can do that. You want to tour on it, some luggage accessories, you can do that too. The only point is it's a tad bit expensive, isn't it? Well, for the amount of development that KTM have put on it, that's what their price point is, and I think it's a fair point at the current market. Thank you for watching. See you next time.